In this chapter, we will look at the QT Pro lineup of control processors. Control processors are the control and signal generation portion of the QT sound masking lineup. This component is where both the installer and end user will adjust the sound masking system, configure the system for initial use, and in some cases connect other audio sources into the system. QT control processors are primarily defined by the number of zones, with three sizes available. QT100 being a single-zone processor, QT300 a 3-zone, and QT600 a 6-zone. The feature set of the QT300 and 600 are identical, with only the number of zones differentiating the two products. The QT100 has a simplified feature set, suitable for simple sound masking projects. Sound masking zones are defined by two driving factors. First, different emitter mounting heights within the same space will require separate zones in order to adjust the sound masking to the exact same sound pressure level. A good rule of thumb is to look for emitter mounting heights which vary by greater than 6 inches. If this condition exists, separate zones are typically needed. Different types of spaces where sound masking is present also require separate zones in most cases. For example, large open offices will need a higher sound masking level than a group of private offices. In order to adjust these two areas independently, 2 zones would be required. And finally, it may be useful to provide paging or background music in explicit areas of the facility. When music is only required in an elevator lobby, for example, separating this area into a unique zone allows for the capability in this specific area without sending that audio signal to the rest of the facility. In addition to the number of zones in each control processor, specific advanced features are available in multi-zone processors. Adjustment of sound masking spectrum, auto ramping, and time of day scheduling of sound masking is possible in the QT300 and QT600 via a network connection, while the single-zone controller allows for level adjustment only through the front panel button interface. Let us begin with the smallest of the three control processors, the QT100. As stated, the QT100 is a single-zone sound masking controller with very simple front panel control. It offers a separate volume adjustment for the sound masking and single audio input. As no Ethernet connectivity is available, the sound masking spectrum is pre-configured to work explicitly with QT adjustable emitters only. Included with this product is a hole saw, sized for installation of emitters in acoustic ceiling tile, as well as a power supply for operation. The QT100 is designed to be wall-mounted, although it is possible to mount the unit on a blank rack panel supplied by the integrator if necessary. The QT100 provides 4 sound masking generators per zone. This is important to alleviate acoustic interference, a topic we will discuss in greater detail in another chapter. 2 separate cable runs are available on the QT100, each capable of 1,000 foot of cable or 60 QT adjustable emitters, whichever comes first. 1 audio input is available on the rear of the QT100. However, due to the fact that this unit is designed for QT adjustable emitters only, the audio level output is limited to 60 decibels maximum. This input is suitable, however, for a signal such as a door chime in a quiet environment. The QT100 may also be controlled externally via contact closure. This is useful in instances where the sound masking system must be disabled in the event of an emergency, as required by some local jurisdictions. it is good to ask the local AHJ or the authority having jurisdiction if this feature is required. The QT100 control processor can power up to a total of 120 QT adjustable emitters for sound masking coverage up to approximately 12,000 square foot. This occurs when emitters are spaced in a typical 10-foot by 10-foot emitter grid spacing and a mounting height of 9 to 11 feet. As the QT100 is a single zone controller, only a single sound masking volume adjustment and single audio input volume adjustment exists. Therefore, all emitters being served by the QT100 need to be located in the same space, such as a large open office. In some instances, as we will show, the emitter dip switches may be used to further adjust a few select adjacent areas. The QT100 consumes only 7 watts of total power to provide sound masking in over 10,000 square foot of space, making it by far the most energy-efficient sound masking solution on the market. Let's explore a typical configuration using a QT100 control processor and adjustable emitters. In this example, we will bring an external audio signal into the sound masking system using the QT100's audio input. We also might have a local code requirement that the sound masking system be shut down in the event of a fire emergency. Therefore, the contact closure on the QT100 would be connected to the fire alarm panel by an appropriately qualified technician. We will assume that the area of coverage is a single open office space with a consistent ceiling emitter mounting height throughout the area, allowing a single zone of sound masking. Our 2 cable runs from the controller allow up to 60 emitters each or 1,000 foot of category cabling from the controller to the last emitter in the run. An important concept to grasp is that both cable runs are adjusted together and not independently. Zones are adjustable in Qt Pro. Therefore, the volume of the adjustable emitters on Run 1 are the exact same level as those on Run 2. As this is an open office, a measure volume of 48 decibels A-weighted would be appropriate for such an environment. In this same scenario, let us pretend that we have 4 sound masking emitters located in a corridor area adjacent to the open office space. If you will recall from the previous course, the corridor sound masking level will typically be lower than that of an open office. We will use a target here of 45 decibels A-weighted. To avoid creating a separate zone for such a few emitters, the adjustable emitters themselves can be lowered using the dip switch setting of -3 dB on the 4 emitters placed in the corridor. This will allow a pseudo-zone of sound masking at a lower level. It is important to note that the volume relationship increases and decreases based on the zone. So as volume is adjusted in the open office area, so too will it change in the corridor. The corridor will simply be approximately 3 decibels quieter than the open office space. The QT300 and QT600 control processors are identical in features with only the number of zones available differentiating the 2 processors. Both feature basic front panel level adjustments via a front panel display and advanced features via an Ethernet web interface. The QT300 provides 3 separate sound masking zones, which are independent. Each zone has separate sound masking and audio level control. While the sound masking spectrum is present in the QT300 out of the box, it also can be adjusted to a specific sound masking spectrum via the unit's web interface. Likewise, different sound masking and audio levels can be scheduled for adjustment daily based on the time of day. This can be beneficial when a space is vacant at night and security wishes to lower the sound masking level in order to better detect an intruder. Auto-ramping is a feature which acclimates occupants to sound masking. This feature should always be deployed in cases where sound masking is being introduced in a previously occupied environment. Auto-ramp simply adjusts the sound masking level upward over a several day or even week time span to allow persons to slowly be introduced to sound masking. This feature, like time of day scheduling, is available for configuration using the web interface. All Qt Pro controllers include an emitter hole saw sized for ACT tile installation, as well as the appropriate power supply. QT300 control processors may be wall-mounted or alternatively ordered with an optional rack mount kit for mounting in a standard 19-inch equipment rack. QT300 controllers feature 4 unique sound masking generators for every zone of sound masking present. Multiple generators alleviate the acoustic effects of phasing found in other sound masking systems and improves uniformity. Each zone provides connectivity for 2 separate cable runs, utilizing category unshielded twisted pair cabling. A wired Ethernet connection is available on both QT300 and QT600 control processors. When connected to either a computer network or simply a laptop utilizing a standard network cable, advanced features such as time of day scheduling, auto-ramping, and equalization of the sound masking spectrum can be accomplished using a web browser on a connected device. Multi-zone control processors feature 2 separate line-level audio inputs. Each control processor zone has the ability to adjust either source on a per-zone basis, allowing an audio signal to be routed to any combination of sound masking zones. Audio input A is the preferred paging input, where audio input B is the preferred music input. However, both inputs are identical and may be used as needed for a specific project. The QT300 features 2 separate contact closures to mute the sound masking and the audio input B. Like the QT100, this connectivity is used primarily to disable sound masking, as well as a music source in the event of an emergency, and when required by local code. QT300 supports both QT adjustable emitters as well as QT active emitters. Each zone can support up to 120 QT adjustable emitters across 2 cable runs of 60 devices each, for a total capacity of 360 adjustable emitters. When connected to QT active emitters, the total capacity is 300 emitters total, with 100 active emitters available per zone using the 2 cable runs. The type of emitter used is selected on a per-zone basis via the web server interface. When the emitter type is selected, the sound spectrum is adjusted to compensate for the specific type of emitter, alleviating the need for manual readjustment. The QT300 provides sound masking coverage of approximately 36,000 square foot across 3 zones, using only 17 watts of total power. As stated earlier, the QT600 control processor has the exact same functionality as the QT300, with simply greater emitter capacity through 3 additional zones, for 6 zones total. It provides separate audio level controls per zone, pre-configures the sound masking spectrum with user adjustability, permits time of day scheduling as well as auto ramping to allow occupants time to adjust to a sound masked environment. The QT600 includes a hole saw for ACT tile as well as a power supply, and comes standard with a bracket facilitating wall mount or an optional rack mount kit available for order. Also like the QT300, each zone of the QT600 provides 4 unique sound masking generators with connections for 2 separate cable run ports on the rear of the controller. Each cable run supports 60 QT adjustable emitters or 50 QT active emitters. Advanced control is facilitated through the Ethernet jack on the rear of the unit, allowing control of the sound masking and audio mixing via the web browser. It also facilitates 2 separate audio inputs, adjustable on a per-zone basis, along with the 2 contact closure ports, which can disable sound masking, as well as the second audio input. Using an emitter spacing of 1 emitter per 100 square feet, which is typical in many ceiling heights, a QT600 can cover 72,000 square foot of space, drawing only 24 watts of power. Adjustable emitter capacity of the QT600 is literally double that of the QT300, with 720 QT adjustable emitters total. Each zone supports 120 QT adjustable emitters or 60 devices per run. This capacity, when using QT active emitters, shrinks slightly with a 600 device limit for 100 emitter units per zone or 50 per port. Both emitter types are supported with the QT600, with configuration done using the web interface, or MCS. Front panel buttons allow basic control of sound masking as well as audio input levels via the unit's LCD display. As the connectivity of the QT300 and QT600 controllers are identical, with the exception of the 3 additional zones, let's illustrate a QT300 sound masking system with both a paging as well as a music input. We will begin with Zone 1, where we wish to install sound masking in an open office to decrease the level of distraction experienced by workers. Our target level for this area is 48 decibels A-weighted. Using QT adjustable emitters, we generate sound masking utilizing 2 separate cable runs of 60 devices per run. As stated previously, these emitters simply daisy chain from output to input throughout the cable run. For Zone 2, we have a need to provide sound masking to achieve privacy in a group of private offices. Because these offices are much smaller and benefit from some acoustic blocking by the office walls, the level of sound masking required in these areas is reduced to 42 decibels A-weighted. The sound masking level for each zone of emitters is adjusted inside the QT300 independently, providing the needed control to independently adjust for the different environments. Our third zone in this example consists of a corridor and lobby area, where we have a requirement for sound masking in addition to paging and music capabilities. The corridor is a transitional space, so it is recommended to provide sound masking in this area at a level of 45 decibels A-weighted, a level between that of the open office and private offices. Using QT active emitters for Zone 3 provides the added volume levels needed as well as the extended frequency range to provide the background music and paging capabilities in both the corridors and lobby areas. If a sound masking control zone or audio source requirement for a separate lobby or corridor area existed, then a 4th zone would be required. 2 important things to note here. Each sound masking and audio input level is controlled on a per zone basis, meaning both Run 1 and Run 2 receive the same signals and adjustments. The other is that the emitter type is selectable on a per-zone basis, and thus each different QT emitter type requires separate zones. To wrap up this chapter, let's review some highlights. 3 sound masking processor sizes are available based on the number of zones required. QT100 is a simple sound masking controller with support for QT adjustable emitters. QT300 and QT600 provide advanced features which also support QT active emitters. Each zone provides 2 cable runs which supports up to 60 QT adjustable or 50 QT active emitters per run, making the maximum capacity per zone 120 QT adjustable or 100 QT active emitters. QT300 and QT600 advanced features include equalization adjustment of the sound spectrum, time of day scheduling of audio inputs and masking levels, emitter type selection, and auto ramping used to slowly increase sound masking levels in previously occupied environments. Basic level control is facilitated on the front panel of all processors. Additionally, advanced features of the QT300 and 600 are adjusted using a web browser via the master control software connected by the Ethernet network port. Audio inputs as well as sound masking are controlled per zone, as both cable runs of emitters receive the same signals and sources. In cases where both emitter types are used in a system, they must be separated by separate zones. QT control processors provide 4 unique sound masking generators and amplifiers for each zone, making them less affected by acoustic interference than other types of sound masking systems.